Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the New Construction Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Anya Chrysanthon, and my guest for today is Jeremy Walker. Jeremy is a sales executive with GuildQuality, and I will let Jeremy talk about the company and what they do. So welcome to the show, Jeremy. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Anya. I appreciate it. So what GuildQuality does is we provide quality feedback to builders, contractors, anybody in the home service industry. We have a team of surveyors who reach out to our members' customers on a monthly basis. And then once we gather the feedback, we upload the data online so that you can share any of the good feedback for marketing purposes with your website, social media pages. And then we also analyze the surveys in order to improve operations as well.
Great. So basically, you guys, how your homeowners get a survey at the end of the building process. So that's essentially what they're doing. So instead of using the builder to do their own surveying, like a lot of companies do, certainly companies that I have worked for, done it themselves, versus a third party reaching out on the builder's behalf to conduct a survey. So, survey can be such a controversial thing because I remember from my sales days when, a lot of the builders will tie incentives to the satisfaction surveys. And so
Right.
So that could be very tricky because then if you have one unhappy customer, and sometimes, let's face it, there are people that no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy. And it seems that when somebody's unhappy, they're always much more likely to voice their opinion versus a happy customer. And so you always get into those like awkward situations where a project manager is talking to the customer 100 times about the survey, and they're almost getting to the point where they have the customer fill out the survey in front of them so that they can kind of see what is going on. And I've heard stories about employees taking the bad surveys and not turning them in or changing email addresses. So there's a whole array of, of interesting situations that go on with surveys. So can you tell us a little bit about the difference of you guys doing a survey versus the builder doing a survey? Is there a difference between response rates, how honest people are? I can imagine that they may be more likely to open up to a third party versus speaking to the builder directly. Am I right? Or
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I would say the number one difference between a third party and the builder doing it themselves is that the customer feels a little more comfortable being honest about the process.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, if the builder does it, whether they did a good job or not, the customer may not feel comfortable saying anything negative at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll say positive things, which, is honestly what some builders are looking for. They only care about the positive review, whether it was true or not. So that's the number one thing. And then, for a response rate, our response rate is typically around like 70%.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is the builders include us in their process. They let the customer know that they've hired a firm basically to reach out afterward to make sure that they're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes the customer feel more comfortable because they know at the end they're going to be reached out to and they can provide feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gives you kind of a way to control that crazy customer that wants to go online and, just scream at the clouds about how terrible you were.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them a platform to kind of get that off their chest. And you're kind of getting in front of it that way. So I think that's the main reason that using a third party is important, just because it tends to be much more honest. And if you do it the right way, you can even increase the response rate. And then, using that qualitative feedback, rather than just having people say nice things about you, which is good, I mean, that helps with marketing, but if you really want to become a better business, then you need critical feedback too. And especially when, as an owner, you're not on site and you want to be able to keep your people accountable. So when they're on the scene, if they're doing a survey, A, the customer probably won't be that honest. B, like you said, the person, whoever's doing it, may not even turn the survey in. They could just be like, oh, they didn't fill one out. And so you really don't know what's going on when you're not there. Mm-hmm. And if a customer is unhappy, then your team or whoever is in charge of that build will say, well, the customer's nuts. They don't know what they're talking about. And the customer says, oh, they did all these things wrong. You don't know who to believe. Mm-hmm. And it's an issue. There's nothing you can really do in that situation. So this kind of eliminates those issues from that aspect. And then, I know you had a couple other questions. I can't remember.
Yeah. So I like your point about doing the survey kind of for the right reasons, that you really should be doing the survey for getting your business better, right? I mean, obviously it's great to be able to say we have, 99% customer satisfaction rate, and that our business is mostly word of mouth because our customers love us so much. And I feel like that's what a lot of the builders out there are doing. They're surveying purely for that purpose. Not necessarily to get honest feedback. So I think that the reality is, I mean, it's great to get that positive feedback, especially when you make it so easy to share it online with your customers. And we all know that customers want to see other people talk about their experience. And they're much more likely to trust another person than to trust the builder directly. So I think from that perspective, the customer reviews and ratings are great. But the bottom line is, if you're not surveying honestly, you really have no way of knowing, what are the gaps in the process, and how can we improve? Now, how granular can you get with the survey? So, would a business owner be able to filter it out almost to like the person, like say how this particular project manager is performing versus this project manager? What a customer is saying about this salesperson versus this salesperson, and like identify trends? Like, how easy is that?
Yeah, so you can do that. It's all really based on the survey questions, mm-hmm. but every survey that we do is attached to the people that were involved in the project. So the salesperson, the project manager, or you can do it by team. Mm-hmm. It's really up to you how granular you want to get. Mm-hmm. But you can definitely, if there are negative surveys coming in, you would be able to go in and figure out, okay, this is Johnny the salesperson. Every time he is on site, there's a lack of communication. Mm-hmm. And then you can work on that with that person, fix it so that it's not a continual issue. Mm-hmm. And it gives you peace of mind, because if you know that you're getting negative feedback, and specifically they're saying they're not communicating with me or they're not scheduling well, you may think, well, this is a company-wide issue, and not know, how to fix it because you don't know where it's coming from. So definitely you can get granular with it, and then you can even ask specific questions about the people that were involved. So, was your salesperson, mm-hmm. Were they knowledgeable? Did they, give you all the information? Did mm-hmm. they mislead you in any way? So you can really dive deep, and especially with home builders, I think that they have more freedom to do so because the build is so long. Mm-hmm. And we actually have a lot of our home builders, they will survey multiple times throughout the process, not just when the build is completed. Mm-hmm. And the reason being, it's, if it takes 6 to 12 to 18 months to build a home, if you ask somebody after 18 months, about the whole process,
Right.
they might not remember, some things that went wrong in month 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it makes sense to really find what you're looking for, what you're trying to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can survey accordingly. And we even have members who will serve what we call lost prospect surveying. So they run a demo for somebody and they end up choosing a different company.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually survey that person to see what was it about us that you didn't like, or why did you choose a different company? And ideally, sometimes they're still actually interested, and they can come back into your sales funnel. So,
love that. Yeah, it's a great idea. I mean, if you think about your lost sales bucket, other than us reaching out to the people consistently and like annoying the hell out of them to the point where they're like, okay, you go into the junk mailbox, and again, they may not be necessarily completely honest with you as a salesperson as to, why they didn't buy from you, or if they're still considering buying from you, they may not feel comfortable saying things like, I can't afford your home, or something like that. So I love the perspective of a third party reaching out and hopefully saving some of those sales and allowing you as a home builder to sell more homes. And 2, if it's a truly lost prospect and they actually did end up purchasing from somebody else, that gives you incredible information as to why they made that decision and what can you change. Because let's face it, if you're not selling homes, nothing else matters, right?
Right.
So, and I'm sure you could find out that it's kind of like getting an edge on your competition, almost like, because you're seeing what others are doing and the customers are telling you what the other builder did versus what you didn't do. Or it may be a matter of misunderstandings that the customer will say, hey, I bought from this builder because they had X, Y, and Z and you didn't, or whatever else. And you may have that, and it's just a matter of communicating that to the customer. So again, your salespeople can figure out how to adjust the message, the marketing, so that the customer is aware. Now, what I want to talk about is the surveys themselves. So I think that is a really tricky part as to how do you structure the survey. I'm sure you guys doing this, you're the experts and you know how many questions to have. Should they be multiple choice questions? Should they be an open-ended question where a customer can fill in? So is there like a guidelines that you typically tell your builders, like, hey, X number of questions is the ideal number, because if you go over, you tend to lose people, like the completion rates go down. Let's talk a little bit about that and how you structure those questions, how you ask questions, because a lot of the times the way you ask a question will make all the difference in the world.
Right. So that's a great question. And the way that we have structured our surveys, and it's definitely changed over the years, but most everything now is based on a 5-star scale. So all of our questions are one word and they're based on a 5-star scale. So it will say something like clean, safe, knowledgeable, communication. So it's easy for the customer to understand. They don't have to read long sentences or multiple sentences. And then they give 1 to 5 stars based on how well they agree or disagree with that category. We also encourage the customers to leave additional feedback, because most of the surveys that we do, we get over the phone and we'll ask the questions verbally.
Okay.
And then transcribe the answers for them.
Interesting.
Just to make it, we want to make it as easy as possible, because if you call someone and say, hey, we sent you an email, please go fill it out, they'll say, hey, okay, and then completely forget about it. So as far as length, we try to make sure that no more than 3 to 5 minutes. That's the ideal time. If you go over 5 minutes, then people will start to lose interest or get aggravated. But free form questions, things that are open-ended so that they can give you some good feedback and just speak their mind a little bit. Those are good too. We always include some. We have a many different templates. Our most popular one has a few. It basically is just where can we improve? What is your area of satisfaction, and how did you hear about us? So we try to keep it a little bit limited. Obviously, if you had 10, 15 questions that were all free form like that, then they probably wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, keeping it simple, making sure they can take care of it quickly, and keeping it in ways that they understand, vis-a-vis having just very short questions so that they can understand, all right, was it clean? Did they communicate? And then that way they don't mind as much answering those questions, because once they start, I think they're more willing to get into it. Most people might think that 3 to 5 minutes is a little long. I know there's a school of thought that people will just ask one question. But to me, I believe if they start doing the survey, then they're willing to get into it a little bit and give you some of that good feedback that you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it's genius that you guys do get them on the phone. I'm curious to see how easy or difficult it is to actually get somebody on the phone, just because we know people hate talking on the phone. And usually when you call somebody and they don't recognize your number, unless you're a salesperson, you're probably not going to pick up that phone call, right? Because you have somebody calling you. So I'm curious, how do you guys get people to actually answer the calls? Because I agree with you that once you get them on the phone, as long as you set the correct expectations, they're more likely to probably finish that with you, just because, you are interacting with the live person on the other end, versus doing something over the email where, again, it's question after question after question. And I think if you are doing it over email, it always helps to show the progress, because at least that, okay, I'm, 30% done, 50%, 70%, versus just going and going and going. And it's like, okay, where does this stop? So I'm sure abandon rate is probably, going to be much slower doing it over the phone. But I'm curious, how do you guys get them on the phone? What's how many times do you have to try to get somebody on the phone like that?
Yeah. So we have a specific cadence over 60 days where we reach out 8 times. We do 4 phone calls and 4 emails. Okay. And it also ties back to what I mentioned a while ago, letting the customer know that we are going to be reaching out. We also create a welcome letter that we encourage our members to send out to their customer, just making sure that they're aware, hey, when this is done, GuildQuality is going to be reaching out to you on our behalf so that you can tell them how we did. Okay. And then that way they're more receptive. If they see the phone call, they may answer it. Obviously, we live in this day and age. A lot of people don't answer the phone when it's a number they don't recognize. Yes, definitely. But I think if you see that same number multiple times, you may start to think, okay, what is this? But especially if you're expecting, hey, this company is going to be reaching out. They see a number they don't recognize. Oh, it may be them. Answer, and then they give the feedback. So yeah, obviously sometimes it doesn't work. If we don't hear anything after 60 days, the 4 emails and 4 phone calls, then we abandon the attempts, because we don't want to bother the customer. Right. And clearly they don't want to, give feedback. Right. So yeah, that's how we go about doing it. It's always a work in progress, right. Finding the way to get the best response rate. We used to send out a postcard, which was only effective to an older demographic. And even that, though, was still very low in the response. So we added more steps and took away the postcard. I'm curious if you guys have tried texting, if you were obviously at the Home Builder Tech this year, so that's how Jeremy and I met.
But if you utilizing something like Atlas RTX technology, where you would get a text message and communicate with the bot to answer the survey, I wonder what the rate would be.
Yeah, so we're adding that this year.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we're adding texting. Should be launching by end of the year. I'm not sure the exact day, but yeah, I think that's gonna help out a lot, because there's a lot of data on people being more responsive to text messages.
Yes, for sure. All right, great. So what about, some of the trends? Let's talk about that. So obviously you see a lot of information that comes through from multiple builders, and you see how certain builder stacks up against their competition. So can you talk to us a little bit about customer satisfaction? Like, are there certain trends that you're seeing that certain builders are doing this and they're getting the consistent feedback that customers really like that? Or the opposite, are there home builders who are getting consistent feedback that they really did not enjoy that, so that hopefully we as salespeople can learn from that?
Yeah, so I think everybody that has been with us for a longer period of time, their scores are always the highest. People that are consistently getting that good feedback and that qualitative feedback and using it to better themselves, their scores are always at the top. Some people, most builders, I would say, think that they have a good understanding of how the customers feel, and they think that they're all happy for the most part, except for the one or two, crazy ones. But there's a definite trend in the more that you do this, and the more open you are to criticism, the better things are, because I think a lot of builders now, they realize that getting reviews is a positive thing and that it will help their business, because people now who are buying homes grew up with the internet and are going to Google their business. But if you don't have true, critical feedback, because even having negative reviews online, I think, is a good thing as well. If someone only has positive reviews, it looks fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously time, people realizing where their issues lie, then they're able to correct those. I don't think that it's never been the case where someone has a low score in safety or scheduling or something like that, and it remains. Once you know where the issue lies, then they're generally easy to fix. And if it's someone that you can't work with, you use subcontractors or something like that, and they continue to have that issue, then you can let them go.
Yep.
I was, speaking with a member of ours at the Home Builder Tech event, who was saying he uses GuildQuality for his hiring process. And as he brings on new people, he makes sure to use the feedback to judge how well they're doing, how well they're acclimating. So the more that you align your goals with your customer experience, the better results you're going to see. And I think that it's something that, all the best businesses in the world are built on. I think that's like a paraphrased Jeff Bezos quote, but yeah, I think that the more you incorporate your customers' feedback into your business practices, then the more success you'll see.
Yeah. So interestingly, speaking on the topic of like the higher customer reviews versus lower customer reviews, I forgot which session, but it was at Home Builder Tech. Somebody talked about customer satisfaction, and that they said that there was a correlation between happy customers and satisfied customers, and builder providing unsolicited updates on the construction process. That was like a huge thing. So
yeah,
I
remember that.
Yeah. So it sounds like that was one thing that's very, very important to customers, is that if you are a builder, you definitely need to have a process in place where you're providing consistent updates to the homeowner on the progress of construction. Because if you're not, if they have to reach out for the progress, I think it definitely affects the way they feel about it. It doesn't help to build trust for sure, versus you being proactive, reaching out and saying, hey, this is what we did this past week, and this is what we're going to do next week. And so that is definitely something that if you're not currently using, you should be, whether your project manager is doing that or not. You as a sales rep can do this very easily. So there's actually an app. If you guys remember, I had Christy on one of the episodes, and she talked about, we called her the construction Barbie. If you remember, she has, I want to say it's My Home Story is the app that she has. And basically what the app will do is it creates like a blog for your customers, giving them an update on what's going on with their home, etc. So you can definitely look into that. Or an easy solution would be spend, an hour a week walking through your customers' homes under construction, taking photos, and you can very easily just send them either a text message, probably again would be the better medium. I mean, how easy is it to go ahead and snap photo in their home? You can even do a quick video of yourself in their home walking through and saying like, hey, this is what's happening. If you can get your project manager involved in that and do that quick video in the home talking about the progress, what's going to happen. I mean, that would be like a no-brainer, right? It's 5 seconds, text that over to them. You know that they're going to open it and see it, and think about your satisfaction ratings and how happy your customer is going to be upon seeing something like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can definitely attest to just having work done as a consumer. The customer wants to know what's going on at all times. They don't want to, because these purchases are so big. I mean, it's the biggest purchase they'll ever make in their life. And not knowing what's going to be happening within the next week or in the next day even, I think is a huge influence on their experience, because they want to know what progress has been made, when they can expect, certain goal points to be reached. And just truly, I mean, it's their home. They want to know what's going on at all times and how the progress is going. And yeah, I met her at the event. My Home Story is a wonderful app. And I think that people should definitely be using it, because it's paramount to make sure that your customer is happy and informed throughout the whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you guys can do it pretty easily yourselves if if your company is not open to the app, at least by going through, taking photos, taking videos, texting it over real quick. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. I really appreciate you being on today. And can you tell us a little bit more about the company? So how long have you guys been in business? How long have you been doing this? How many customers do you have? And, if somebody wanted to find out more, what do we do? How do we reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been around since 2003. Mm-hmm. We were founded by a production builder out of South Carolina. We have close to 3,000 members now, and we are growing very quickly. If somebody wanted to reach out to me, you can send me an email. It's just jeremy@guildquality.com. Otherwise, you can go to our website, check it out. We have a free trial where we offer 20 free surveys to anybody that's interested in testing our platform. Mm-hmm. And then otherwise, obviously, you can reach out. I would like to give my phone number, but I'm not going to do that.
Well, so feel free to share whatever information you want me to share, and I'll link it to the show notes. That way, people can very easily find you and connect with you.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. but yeah, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with anybody, answer any questions that anybody has. And like I said, if you want to try it out, we can survey some customers for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. I really appreciate your time. It was such a pleasure chatting with you. And I hope I will get to see you soon at one of the other events in the industry.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Anya. It was wonderful meeting you, and I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.